The story of the Colosseum does not begin with stone or architecture. It begins with fire, and with the most hated emperor in Roman history. In 64 AD, a catastrophic fire tore through the city of Rome, destroying 10 of the city's 14 districts and leaving hundreds of thousands of people homeless. The emperor at the time was Nero, and from almost the moment the flames were extinguished, the people of Rome began to whisper that he had started it deliberately. The rumors were not without basis. On the land cleared by the fire, Nero immediately began construction of the Domus Aurea, his golden house, a palace so vast and so extravagant that it occupied a significant portion of what had been one of the most densely populated areas of the city. The palace had artificial lakes, private forests, and a colossal bronze statue of Nero himself, over 30 meters tall, standing at the entrance. While ordinary Romans lived in the rubble of what the fire had destroyed, their emperor had built himself a personal paradise on the ashes of their homes. The hatred that Nero generated was absolute, and it was permanent. When he died in 68 AD, fleeing his own palace and reportedly sobbing that the world was losing a great artist, nobody mourned him. The question for whoever came next was how to undo the damage he had done, not just to Rome's infrastructure, but to its people's faith in the very idea of imperial power.
The answer came in the form of a soldier from a modest background who had risen through the military ranks to become one of Rome's most respected generals. His name was Vespasian, and when he took power in 69 AD as the founder of the Flavian dynasty, he made a decision that was as politically brilliant as it was symbolically powerful. He looked at the artificial lake that sat at the heart of Nero's golden house, the lake that had been dug from land that once housed thousands of ordinary Romans, and he ordered it drained. And in the space where Nero's private lake had been, Vespasian announced that he would build something the city of Rome had never had before, a public amphitheater, free for all citizens, large enough to hold the entire population of a small city, built not for the glory of one emperor, but for the entertainment of the Roman people. The message was unmistakable, and it was heard by everyone. Where one man's private lake had stood, 70,000 citizens would now sit. The propaganda was perfect because it was physical. You could walk to the site, look at the construction, and see with your own eyes that the land was being returned. Vespasian never lived to see the project completed. He died in 79 AD, the same year Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii. But his son Titus completed the work 8 years after construction had begun, and when the Colosseum was inaugurated in 80 AD, the opening celebrations lasted 100 consecutive days. Over 9,000 animals were killed in that first 100 days alone. The engineering achievement that made the Colosseum possible is, even by modern standards, astonishing. The Romans began by draining the artificial lake and excavating the foundations to a depth of several meters, creating a base solid enough to bear the weight of the entire structure above it. The primary building material was travertine limestone, quarried from Tivoli, approximately 30 kilometers from Rome, cut into enormous, precisely shaped blocks, and transported to the construction site on carts pulled by oxen along specially built roads. At the site, wooden cranes operated by teams of workers lifted the blocks into position. The holes where the crane mechanisms were attached to the stone are still visible in the exterior walls today, a detail that most visitors walk past without noticing. The structural genius of the Colosseum lay in its use of the arch. Every level of the building is organized around a series of arches, each one supporting the next in a continuous chain that distributes the weight of the entire structure downward and outward in a way that required no internal supporting columns to interrupt the seating areas. The exterior used travertine, fixed together with iron clamps, no mortar, while the internal structure combined lighter materials, including volcanic tuff and brick, allowing the builders to move faster without sacrificing strength. The result was a building that went up in 8 years, which for a structure of this scale and complexity was a pace that astonished even the Romans themselves. The interior of the completed Colosseum was a masterpiece of crowd management that modern stadium designers still study and admire.
70,000 spectators could enter and exit the building in minutes, directed by a system of 80 numbered entrance arches, each corresponding to a specific section of seating, connected to a network of radial staircases and vaulted passageways called vomitoria, which fed people into their seats with a smoothness and efficiency that many contemporary venues cannot match. Seating was rigidly organized by social class. Senators and the most senior officials sat in the lowest tier, closest to the arena floor, where they could see every detail of what happened below them. Above them sat equestrians and Roman citizens of means.
Higher still sat ordinary plebeians. At the very top, women, freed slaves, and the poorest citizens occupied the uppermost levels, where the view was distant and the sun unrelenting. Above even these highest seats, a ring of wooden poles and beams supported the velarium, a vast retractable awning of linen and canvas operated by sailors of the Roman imperial fleet, who were permanently stationed at the Colosseum for this purpose, maneuvering the shade across the open sky above the arena as the sun moved throughout the day. The arena floor itself was a wooden platform covered with sand, the Latin word for sand being harena, which is where the word arena comes from, and below it lay the hypogeum, an underground network of tunnels, rooms, cages, and mechanical lift systems that was the invisible engine of the entire spectacle. What actually happened inside the Colosseum on any given day of games was carefully structured, almost theatrical in its organization. Events began in the morning with the Veniationes, animal hunts in which trained hunters faced exotic creatures that had been shipped to Rome from across the empire. Lions from North Africa, tigers from Asia, bears from Northern Europe, elephants, rhinoceroses, hippopotami, animals that most Romans had never seen and would never see anywhere else. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of animals died in a single day of games. Between the hunts, at midday, came the public executions, condemned criminals and prisoners of war killed in the arena, sometimes by animals, sometimes by other condemned men. In the afternoon came the gladiatorial contests, the element of the games that the crowd anticipated most intensely and that the emperors invested most heavily in producing. Gladiators were not the randomly selected slaves of popular imagination. They were highly trained professional fighters, organized into specialized categories, each with its own distinct weapons, armor, and fighting style, housed in dedicated training schools called ludi. On special occasions, particularly at the inauguration of the venue itself, the arena floor was removed entirely, and the hypogeum flooded with water to stage naumachi, full-scale mock naval battles, with real ships carrying real combatants fighting real battles in the middle of a landlocked city in front of 70,000 cheering spectators. The purpose of all of this was not purely entertainment. Roman emperors and their advisors understood something that modern political strategists still understand. A population that is fed, distracted, and given regular spectacles of controlled violence is a population that is less likely to turn its anger toward the people governing it. The phrase panem et circenses, bread and circuses, was coined by the Roman writer Juvenal as a criticism of this exact strategy, the observation that the Roman people had been so successfully pacified by free food and free entertainment that they had forgotten to care about their own political rights. The Colosseum was the most expensive and elaborate instrument of this policy ever built. Every game was a reminder of the emperor's power, his generosity, his ability to deliver spectacles beyond anything ordinary life could offer.
Emperors who gave good games were loved. Emperors who gave poor games or canceled them were unpopular in ways that could have political consequences. The violence was real, but it was also a performance, and the performance was a form of governance. The Colosseum's slow decline began with the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century AD, and the building that had roared with 70,000 voices for 4 centuries stood empty, as a place where a peculiar variety of rare plants took root in the sheltered microclimate created by the ruins, eventually attracting botanists who cataloged species found nowhere else in the region. Earthquakes in 1349 and subsequent years brought down entire sections of the southern exterior wall, whose ruins still lie where they fell. It was not until the 18th and 19th centuries that systematic conservation efforts began, driven partly by the Catholic Church's designation of the site as sacred ground, on the grounds that early Christians had been martyred there, a claim that modern historians consider unproven, but
but which nonetheless gave the building a protected status that helped save what remained. The political system it embodied collapsed 15 centuries ago, but the building remains. And if you listen carefully, standing in what remains of that arena, you can still hear something. Subscribe to RM Journal for the stories the world forgot to tell you.